Here we go with yet another Polar Warrior video, and this time we're diving right into the specifics of bipolar type 2. What it is, how it's classified, and the differences between type 2 and type 1. I myself am bipolar type 1 ultra rapid cycling. Fun stuff. This is the third video in this series, and we've already covered diagnosis and type 1 extensively. So if you missed those, check them out, because knowledge is bipolar power or something like that. Lastly, if you like what I'm doing to advocate, educate, and spread awareness about the illness, you can send a big digital thank you by subscribing. Let's start out with a few statistics, just to show how serious the impact of mental illness is. The National Institute of Mental Health estimates that around 5.7 million American adults are bipolar, which equates to around 2.6% of the US population that's over 18. The average age that bipolar symptoms start is actually around 25 years old, and just as many men as women are affected by the disorder. It's an equal opportunity disorder. It affects all nations, all genders, exactly the same percentages and same ways. Bipolar disorder is the 6th leading cause of disability in the world today, and serious mental illnesses like bipolar disorder are costing the US around $193 billion in lost earnings each year. Mood disorders like major depression and bipolar disorder are the third most common cause of hospitalization in the US for ages 18 to 44, and untreated bipolar disorder can reduce our lifespan by up to 10 years or more. The last one I'll throw out there, and it breaks my heart, is that over 90% of children who die by suicide are struggling with a mental health condition. Mental health and bipolar disorder are extremely serious, and they need to be handled accordingly. There's lots more, but let's get back to type 2 bipolar disorder. Bipolar type 2 is the most common type of bipolar disorder, but common doesn't mean simple or easy. Over their lifetime, people with bipolar 2 spend about 3 times more of their lives in a depressive state compared to bipolar 1. That's horrible. Their down cycles can basically last a lot longer, and another primary feature of type 2 is the lack of full-blown mania. Now, that doesn't mean that people with bipolar 2 don't get manic. They just experience what's called hypomanic or hypomania instead of full-blown mania. That's one of the key differences between type 1 and type 2. We'll have entire videos dedicated to the different types of mania, so for now we're just going to stick to the basics of bipolar type 2. People can be diagnosed with bipolar type 2 by experiencing at least one episode of hypomania and at least one episode of major depression. And the diagnosis basically requires that a patient hasn't ever had a full-blown manic episode. Now, it doesn't count if someone experiences full-blown mania because of a med or a drug reaction, which can sometimes happen for sure. Like we talked about in the last video, over-the-top full-blown mania is what pushes the diagnosis into the realm of bipolar type 1. So the hypomania that bipolar 2 people experience is basically an elevated or irritable mood, and it's not quite as severe as mania, even though the word hypomania sounds more intense than just mania, and it's not associated with psychosis, which is basically the end of the line for people like me when we go from way past the point of mania to where reality just isn't there anymore. We're just gone. And I've been there. It's basically my worst nightmare and everyone around me. So anyways, back to bipolar 2. The hypomanic episodes that I was talking about have to last at least 4 days with type 2, and the depressive episodes are usually a lot more intense and happen a lot more often than the hypomania does. Both type 1 and type 2 are horrible to experience in their own way. Type 2 patients have less periods of stability, or what I referred to as euthymia, and as our word of the day in the last video. And unfortunately, because of the more chronic cycling and downtime, people with type 2 are more likely to think about or actually end their lives. And that's really sad, to say the least. The last thing that I want to mention, and I touched on this in the previous video, is how difficult it can be sometimes to diagnose bipolar disorder, and especially type 2. Most people go see their doctor when the depression gets to be too much, not when they're manic. And who needs a doctor when you're feeling up and manic, right? A lot of doctors end up misdiagnosing us as just generally depressed and not bipolar because they end up seeing us when we're depressed, like I said. They don't take the time to ask the right questions about our history and our behavior, or we don't even know what to tell them or what's part of the illness and what isn't. A lot of people also see mania as just an energetic person or someone who's high functioning or moody. Sometimes when I'm manic, like the right kind of mania, I love it. It's not something I'd go racing to the doctor for, especially before I knew what was going on in my life. Also, if people are drinking or self-medicating in other ways, which I did for many years, it can make it so hard to pinpoint what's part of the illness and what isn't. Now, as far as treatment goes, the approach to treating bipolar 2 is really similar to the way bipolar 1 is treated, and I covered that in the previous video, so to save time here, check that out if you missed it. Both type 1 and type 2 require a comprehensive, well-rounded approach to treatment, and one of the most notable differences would be which combination of meds are used and the dosages. Considering patients with bipolar 2 spend more time in a depressive state, and the mania that they experience is a little bit different, that's where the subtle differences in medications or the dosages could come from. Anyways, I think that's about all I have to say right now about bipolar 2. I'm sure I could go on, but I want to keep these videos, well, not short, but sweet and to the point, as they say. So now this makes 3 videos in this bipolar series, and I've got lots more to cover, so I hope you come back again sometime to Polar Warriors with me and learn more. If you still haven't hit that little red subscribe button that's staring you in the face, maybe you'll consider doing that to support what I've got going on here with my channel. My goal really is to help as many people as I possibly can. I'm very dedicated to this project, and if you made it to this point in the video, I can't thank you enough. I hope you stay well, take care, and if you know someone who might be bipolar or just needs to know more about what we deal with, send them my way. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.